Today we celebrate the first Friday in honor of the Sacred Heart, and there's these most amazing apparitions and revelations where the little veil between, well, not the little, the great veil between this world and the next was torn aside, and the French nun Saint Margaret Mary was able to see our Lord, not just in the blindness of faith, but see him coming to her from heaven in this beautiful private revelation and this apparition. And at the heart of this apparition is really his heart, a heart burning with love, a heart full of love, his heart just on fire. And that's always been depicted. She saw his heart on fire, and the Lord explained by his own words to her to help her understand what this image of the burning sacred heart was, is that just how his heart was clamoring with so many flames of love that, just wishing to pour it out into souls, but also how many souls were indifferent and cold towards him. So we have to always reflect in our life, where is the Lord the total center of our homes and our lives? Do all our decisions revolve around God and finding union with him? Or is God a sidestep? How's our prayer life? Is our prayer life just relegated to a few short minutes in the morning, a few short minutes at night before we go to bed, which is largely and hugely insufficient? How do we put the Lord at the center, this heart full of love? How do we tap into it? How are we going to, make reparation for all the coldness of others who have become spiritually dull and dead and go about life more worried about earthly things and temporal worries and pleasures, as opposed to really considering the truths of eternal salvation about, how am I going to profit the most from the present moment to bring about my union with God and bring about prayer for the salvation of souls. So what's kind of like our center point, and our families, how are we going to realign as couples, as parents or children or single people in the world? How are we going to try and put the Lord at the center of our life and other people's lives? And so, but the most central reality is this, that there's this heart full of love that is burning in the center of the entire universe, which is God himself, And we see this divine love in the human love of Jesus, in his divine human heart, that is so afflicted in so many ways for love of us. Today is also the feast of St. Alphonsus Liguori, and he's known for so many things. And he's also known for a little treatise he kind of wrote on the Blessed Sacrament, Visits to the Blessed Sacrament. And he was a big teacher about spiritual communion, about throughout the day pausing to make a spiritual communion with the Holy Eucharist. Or if we went to visit the tabernacle or adoration, we would make a profound act of spiritual communion, which is a prayer to just a desire to be in total union with God. And so he was a great advocate of this, and saying that this brings tremendous graces to the spiritual life, to make many spiritual communions throughout the day. To think, just stop for a moment and think there's a mass being celebrated somewhere in the world, and just to pause and to unite yourself with that holy mass, by saying, Lord, I offer you my life. I make a total union with this mass for the salvation of souls and for the reparation of sins. So, as I said, prayer is something that's meant to punctuate our whole life. Our quieter moments of prayer, as we know, just to sit quietly with the Lord, is ready to help us enter deeply into a mystery that we're able to sustain throughout the rest of the day by quick, smaller glances to the Lord whenever we can recollect ourselves. And here's a little quote by St. Alphonsus on the Holy Eucharist, He says, "Oh, how sweet a joy it is to remain with faith and tender devotion before an altar, and converse familiarly with Jesus Christ, who is there for the express purpose of listening to and graciously hearing those who pray to him, to ask his pardon for the displeasures which we have caused him, to represent our wants to him, as a friend does to a friend in whom he places all his confidence, to ask him for his graces, for his love, for his kingdom. But above all, oh, what a heaven is it there to remain making acts of love towards the Lord, who is on the very altar praying to the Eternal Father for us, and is there burning with love for us, since indeed that love it is which detains him there, thus hidden and unknown in the Eucharist, and when he is even despised by ungrateful souls. But why should we say more? taste and see, he says. Taste and see. As in other words, go to pray and taste and see the Lord. See him in the Holy Eucharist and visit him there. Make these acts of spiritual communion with the Lord. And just ask a question to yourself today, as I am asking myself, Lord, how can I put you more in the center of my life? Does my life revolve around you, or is it the